wrestling bits. Subscribe now.
In what is quickly becoming one of the darkest biennial traditions in WWE, Jimmy Uso has been arrested yet again on suspicion of DUI, and it's getting to the point where you can make a whole Instagram account with Jimmy Uso's mugshots alone. Jimmy, who is currently in the top storyline on SmackDown opposite Roman Reigns, was arrested near Pensacola, Florida, where he blew a .205 after admitting to drinking multiple beers before driving. The legal limit in Florida is .08. Yikes! This is a very serious problem. It now constitutes as Jimmy Uso's 5th DUI-related run-in with the law since 2011. It became apparent this man had a problem around the 2nd or 3rd DUI arrest, and the longer WWE fails to directly address this problem, the bigger a liability he will be as long as he's a WWE superstar. There's an old saying that for every one DUI charge, you probably got away with driving drunk hundreds of times. We're on at least DUI arrest number 5 now, and if somebody doesn't step in with a serious behind-the-scenes intervention, which for all we know could have already happened by now, Jimmy Uso is a ticking time bomb, and the consequences can be dire for both Uso and WWE. Yes, and WWE. WWE tends to take a hands-off approach in the face of these obvious cries for help among their talent. But Jimmy Uso is responsible for his own actions just isn't good enough if you plan on keeping him in the fold as a top-level WWE superstar. Because if, God forbid, the man gets behind a wheel under the influence and kills a family, the headline won't say independent contractor, it'll say WWE's Jimmy Uso commits manslaughter. And everything from WWE's carefully protected public image to its even more carefully protected stock price could come crashing down. Jimmy Uso is responsible for his own actions, but WWE will be held responsible in the court of public opinion in the event of a tragedy after condoning 5 DUI arrests and counting. WWE's textbook tough love isn't the answer either. WWE tends to embarrass talent for their drinking problems on national television for a cheap pop or to advance an art-imitating life storyline. Turns out all those cheap pops for alcoholic jokes do come at an expense. In fact, on July 22nd, 2019, WWE had John Cena, its biggest star, go on national television and mock the Usos for their history of DUIs. 3 days later, Jimmy Uso was arrested in Pensacola, Florida on suspicion of DUI, though he was eventually found not guilty. Mental health is supposed to be the hot thing right now, right? I'm not a mental health expert, but I don't think publicly embarrassing somebody about their drinking problem on national television is good for their mental health. In fact, I think it often has the opposite effect. It can be triggering to relive that trauma in front of a national television audience, thereby driving an untreated alcoholic to do the only thing they know how to do in order to cope with that type of stress: drink even more. Didn't they pull this crap with Jeff Hardy back in 2013 in his feud with CM Punk? Then again in 2018 with Samoa Joe? And Hardy's problems have only continued to this day with his most recent alcohol-related arrest coming in July of 2019, the same month Jimmy got popped. WWE didn't even learn their lesson then because they had a drunken Jeff Hardy storyline as recently as last year. It's straight up horse that WWE is so quick to absolve itself of responsibility when it comes to the very serious issues with its talent, like alcoholism or substance abuse, but they're all too happy to incorporate these unchecked problems into their storylines. Jimmy Uso is responsible for his own actions, but WWE seems responsible for making him relive them, which is why I think the WWE system has failed guys like Jimmy Uso and Jeff Hardy and a host of others. WWE has the system in place to treat these individuals. In fact, they admirably offer free rehab to any current or former WWE superstar who needs it. But clearly that's not enough. And until WWE makes a philosophical change in its approach to dealing with these issues before they get out of hand, WWE and Jimmy Uso will be one car ride away from a personal, professional, and public disaster.